Hello lovely people. So today is a bit different because I'm tuning a car, but I'm not home. I'm somewhere else. You can see there's woods and everything. I am in the middle of nowhere. To be honest, I have no idea where I am. And it's kind of expected when you have a person that has a very nice house and has a very nice car. And when I say a car, it's not one car. There's a car over there. There's a car over there. There's a car over there, and there's another one in a different garage. That's mine. So today I was tuning a Lambo, and by all means, I'm not a car guy, but like this car is something to really admire, and I'm trying to contain myself because to me personally, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Even to sit in a Lambo, not talking about tuning, but all of these things aside, all of these pretty cars aside, let's talk about tuning a Lambo, what the issues are, and what this system consists of. This car, there's literally no space at all. There's the engine, that's a subwoofer, and there's this. So this system is comprised of a factory head unit, because there's nothing else, you cannot put anything in there. The factory head unit goes into the DSP amplifier, which is in this case match up 8 something. So it's an 8-channel DSP that's hidden somewhere there behind a beauty panel. As well, there's a little monoblock, the match 1 up, that runs this kicker subwoofer. This is a I think it's an 8-inch slimline. It's literally 5-10 liter box and nothing else. And then we have focals, beryllium tweeters, and 8-inch mid bass in the doors. So this is a 2-way system, not a 3-way, because it doesn't have any factory locations. The other Lambo that he showed me, he has another one which is almost identical to this, but that one is designed for like off-road, and that one has a premium system, and that has a mid-range right in there. So that's a potential tune in the future, maybe. So I will show you the measurements of this tune, all the data and everything, but I want to talk about how the system sounds like, because everything is tuned, everything is done. When you have a system in a car like this, obviously you're going to have some compromises and the goods and the bads. So the good thing is, oh, that's a control as well. So the good thing is about this, the top end is stellar. It sounds amazing because these beryllium tweeters, oh my god, they're so nice. All the top end is bloody awesome. The problem is that it's a 2-way. So we do have a big massive central console that has some cancellations, and doors cause more cancellations, and we have a massive dip in the lower mid-range. Again, I'm going to show you all the measurements. These doors, since they are carbon fiber, they didn't put a lot of deadening in them. There is some, but they're again designed to be light, and there's 8-inch drivers that don't really play that low, because again you have very light materials that are flapping. There's nothing like in that tank when you can put 3 layers of deadening, and the door weighs probably more than half of this car. So 2-way has its own challenges. The other challenge is the subwoofer, which is this one. The subwoofer is literally right next to my face. So you can see me and the subwoofer is literally like 20 centimeters, like 1 foot or something. It's really close. So the everything that you can hear, the cone noise and more, because this is a very cheap sub, it costs like 200 pounds, and to be honest, it sounds really bad. So the first thing, the owner is going to upgrade the subwoofer to something nicer, and he's going to build a custom enclosure right there, which you cannot fit much, but apparently like Nick Capicella from Vanguard, he does that kind of stuff. And that sub sounds bad. Like really bad. I am surprised. It does give the kick and everything, but maybe it's the fact that it's so close to you, or maybe it's the fact that it's just a very poor quality sub. It doesn't sound nice at all. We try to get rid of the boominess and stuff, and being in the cabin so small, again, it doesn't allow for the low end extension, so it doesn't play low as well. I try to boost it a bit because, again, it's close, so it doesn't have to play that loud. But small cabin, small sub, no really a lot of low bass. But we're gonna go through all the measurements. I just wanted to show you that I've been in this place, because if I'm gonna tell someone that I've sat in a Lambo, nobody's gonna believe me, even my wife. So this is just for myself, to remind myself that I've been here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bounce. I just want to show you this beauty. The color is lovely. So this is a Huracán STO, a lovely, lovely, lovely car, and definitely built not for car audio, but there is a good system, very nice sounding system. After the tune, it sounds much nicer. The subwoofer, the sub bass, is the most disappointing thing probably. But there's another Lambo, which is very, very cool. There's a Porsche RS. So yeah, I'm a bit excited, if you cannot tell. I'm trying not to show that because I'm trying to be professional and stuff. But yeah, now, after sitting in this for half a day, I'm gonna sit in that and I'm gonna go home. Yeah, I'm bouncing. Let's jump into the laptop. Okay, all the measurements. So remember, it is a two-way, yeah, it's not a three-way. So let's have a look what we have. Left tweeter and right tweeter. The tweeters are playing nice. However, so the whole thing with this tune was that the owner of the vehicle specified, and I asked him, his goal is maximum SPL. Maximum SPL means that we need to kind of compromise the linearity and cutting stuff with keeping more of the level. So that means that I have to boost some stuff. However, that is a DSP amplifier that is quite limited in output and it doesn't have any gain adjustment. So again, boosting and cutting, it is a compromise. I still try to keep it as SQ as possible. So this is left and right tweeter. They are kind of on axis, however they do roll off, especially the left one. You can see kind of has a trend, so you'd think that this is a trend that is going down, but in reality this area between like 2 and 4K, this is the mountain that is boosted acoustically, because that tweeter is in the very, very corner of the A pillar and it has like a horn surrounding it. So it's not necessarily the extension, but even with that, like 16-15K and no more. So it is interesting, but the extension is not really there. The right tweeter is something similar, up to like 14K, and then it just goes down because it's a little bit off axis. And the main thing, this was measured with, I believe, 1K crossover. So 1K was way too low, even for those tweeters. They are capable, but 1K is too low. So I had to choose a bit higher crossover and a shallower slope. And this is the best part, left and right mid bass. So yeah, you can see that. Let's take one by one. Left one, this is kind of nice. It has like down to 50 or whatever. This is doors, so you cannot do anything, but this massive hole, yeah, it's not nice. But the right side, you can see this is a massive hump here, and then a hole here, and again it rolls off. So with this tune, I kind of figured that the best approach would be not to use our typical 24 dB slopes acoustical, but I used 12 dB slopes just to have a bigger overlap, because again, this is a two-way, it's not a three-way, and it's going to be a compromise anyway. So you can see that this hole is not going to be filled by anything. So left and right, let's do left and left, and you can see this hole is not going to be filled by the tweeter and it rolls off. So I cannot cross the tweeter at 500 hertz, and I cannot sacrifice that much level of the mid bass. I tried to boost this area a little bit, so I gave it a little boost, but again, you cannot boost. How much we need to boost? 10, like 15 dB. I cannot boost 15 dB this area just to kind of level it out. And the top is kind of the same, and for the right as well. So if I didn't want to lose that much energy, so again, it's still like 5 to 6 dB of boost here. So again, compromises. And the subwoofer, which is this. So the subwoofer, as I mentioned, it's very small, shallow, and you can see that it plays basically from 60 to 300. So first of all, we don't need a subwoofer to play up to 300. That is just ridiculous. But the worst part is that it doesn't play low. It does have extension here, like down to whatever, but that's low level, and basically we have all of this mountain. So what I figured to do is sacrifice all this output just to have some low end, and apparently that subwoofer didn't like it, just because you can see that like the subwoofer plays kind of the same as a mid bass, as 8-inch mid bass, very similar response, but we want a bit more output out of the subwoofer, and I didn't want to put anything on the doors, because even they're 8-inch, they're in the doors, which are carbon fiber, very thin, very flexible, so the bass, it's not tight, it's very not articulate, just because of the very flimsy mounting. But like the doors, they mounted properly, but the actual door is a door, it's flimsy. So let's have a look what we did with this left tweeter. So with the left one, you can see it does rolls off. So I didn't want to choose a target that low, so to lose all of this. So I boosted the top end just here, like plus 5 dB or whatever, just because the tweeters to boost that high, it's fine, it's not a problem. So I gained about 5 dB of overall level for the target, and then it chose a different crossover. I think it's crossed at 2K or something, so that's why the level is lower. So with this, I got like something like this. So you see, after the EQ, I didn't lose a lot of level, just a few of these peaks, and this was my target. So the target was 12 dB crossed at 2K. So it does overlap. I didn't want to boost any of this area because it's way too low to boost for a tweeter. I wouldn't want to boost 1K for a tweeter. So that's the left one. Now the right one, something similar. So the right one had much more level just because it's closer to you. Remember, we're in the UK, so the right one is the driver side. So we had much more level, so I didn't need to boost that much. So I boosted just a little bit and cut everything else, because again, the bottleneck is the left one. So even on the right, I could have the target a bit higher, something like this, but the left one didn't play that loud. And after both of them, left and right, the match pretty nice. This, they don't match that nice, but it's fine. So left tweeter, right tweeter, sorted. Now bass, left mid bass. Ooh, this, yeah. So these are doors, and it is what it is. So what I did, I boosted this area, as I mentioned a bit, like 5-6 dB, just to have a little bit more level. I didn't want to boost it 10 dB, but just a little bit. And I put a crossover on it, because this, the blue one, is with no crossover, and you need some kind of crossover. So I did cross them at 60 Hertz. Again, these are 8-inch, so potentially you might be able to cross them a little bit lower to have a tiny bit more low end, but if you're pushing the driver, if you're aiming for SPL, you wouldn't want to cross it low. So it is what it is. And the target for the mid bass is this one. That's my target. So you can see like this is raw response with no crossovers and no EQ like this. So it's already following the target here. So I cannot bring the target up because I need to boost this. I need to boost this. I need to boost I don't remember if I boosted this, probably boosted this as well, but with this I cannot do anything. So like this, just to follow the target a bit more. And then after EQ, we ended up with this. So again, you see, this is the cancellation that I cannot do anything. So a little boost here, a little boost here, a little boost. So basically more boosting than actual cutting. And I ended up here, but this, again, is a hole that needs to be fixed with a mid-range driver, not a tweeter. There was an option of trying to fill this in with a rear, because he has a rear fill as well, 6.5s, I believe some kind of, I don't remember the actual speaker, but it's a coax driver. So the rears, I can show you left rear and right rear. Yeah, so they play that range. You could fill it up, but then everything is pulled to the back, so I didn't like it. so I didn't put the rears. I left the rears as an extra, like optional extra, so he can adjust the rear attenuation with the conductor. But for this tune, I didn't do anything with the rears. So this is the left bass. Now the right one. So the right one has a lot of energy in this area. But again, if I'm gonna put the target much higher, then this hole is gonna appear, and I cannot put the other side louder, so this has to be like as it is. So this is with the crossovers again. Apply 60 Hertz crossover on the top end as well. This area slightly boosted as well, just to have a little bit more and less of a gap, and then everything chopped off. But again, if I would choose a higher target, then I would have needed to bring the whole level of the speaker down just to match it with the left side. So there's no point of choosing a higher target for the right, the closer side. And this was the left and right after the EQ both sides. There's a little dip here, but this area, again, I cannot do anything about it. And I do imagine this is caused by the central console, something to do with that. So compromises. So if we're gonna have a look, left tweet, right tweet, and mid bass left and right, both 12 dB slopes, acoustical slopes, and yeah, it looks nice. Now the subwoofer, as I mentioned, is this. So what I did with the subwoofer, I crossed it quite low, but not as low as I wanted. So I crossed it at 70, I believe, or 80 Hertz, just to get rid of all of that. And then a little bit EQ, just a tiny little bit EQ, just to remove this peak, just to make it look a bit nicer. So like on the measurement on paper, we do have extension all the way, but it doesn't like to play. And if we compare this to the left and right bass, we do have quite a big overlap, because then you would need to cross this probably like 50, the subwoofer, but then it doesn't play anything. So because I thought they were gonna have a bit more bass just to cover the engine noise, so I would let them overlap. I'm gonna lose the SQ side of things, but I would gain in level just to have it fight the engine noise, because the engine is literally right next to the subwoofer, right behind everything, and we needed that level, so I let them to overlap. Basically, after everything is done, oh, actually I can show you the rears, because the rears is just left rear. So I just put crossovers. I crossed it at, I think it's 80 and 1K, because again, I just wanted to level in the lower frequencies, not in the very high, because very high is gonna pull the image even more back. And EQ, just like that. So that's one side, and exactly the same the rear side, crossovers and EQ, and bring the level down and something like this. So the rear fill, but rear fill again is not the main thing for my tune. It was an optional that he could adjust with the conductor, just to have a little bit fill. And I ended up with a curve like this after everything summing. So this is subwoofers, mid bass, and tweeters. If we're gonna zoom in a little bit like that, so we can see that the summing is nice. I couldn't do impulse response in this car, so I had to do acoustical nulling between the mid bass and the subwoofer. So I was looking for a massive null, and then I flipped the face of the subwoofer, because that amplifier, built-in DSP amplifier, doesn't have any RCAs, so I couldn't feed my Focusrite in it. The top end is flat. They sum very, very nice at the crossover region, 12 dB slopes, everything is nice, but this hole is there and you cannot do anything about it. And this was my target. That is like, it's, I want to say mine, kind of my target. I like it. I use this for daily. So this area between like 60 and 300 or whatever, this came up a bit more because again I overlapped the subwoofer with the mid bass, so it gave energy here, and we just have a bit more energy here. And we played the music and it didn't sound that good. It sounded a bit as the owner itself said, woolly, whatever that, like I do get the term how it kind of describes the sound, woolly bass, but I cannot really translate it. So it's a bit muddy, it's a bit boomy, and in my experience the boominess comes like in this area about 50, 60, 70 hertz, all of this, and that like woolliness or whatever is like from here. So the other thing that I did, I just removed that. Let me add some smoothing, just a few EQ bands on the virtual channels, because everything is fed with virtual channels with a 2 left and right from the head unit. So just remove that area and it sounded much nicer. We try to remove this a little bit more, like 2 or 3 dB down, and the extension is kind of there, so it does sound nicer, not as boomy. However, that subwoofer, it doesn't play nice at all. So let me remove everything just to show you the final result. So basically this is our final result with this tune. Again, bass extension down to probably 50-60 hertz only. I wish we had like plus 10 dB on 30 hertz, but it is what it is. And I left this as it is because for the owner, what I did, I made the tone controls so he could adjust the top end up and down from 5K, because he mentioned that he likes sparkle. So sparkle in my vocabulary is something like above 5K, because if you put the level higher, like 2-3K, this might sound a bit harsh. So just a very top end. So he has a shelf filter on the conductor to adjust or reduce the level. And then from 80 hertz up or down, he has a shelf filter for the subwoofer as well, just to reduce or increase, because he's listening to a lot of ripped vinyls that sound apparently very different record to record. So he is one of those people that constantly needs to fiddle with almost every song with the bass and with the very top end, just to have it sounding as nice as possible. And yes, I showed this to him, he listened, everything is fine. He literally half an hour ago texted me that it sounds very nice, and even with the engine running, it's not as bad as we thought that it's gonna be, because we didn't test it with the engine running, we just tested while listening. But yeah, I like this curve, I like this house curve, it sounds nice to me. And the result, again, as I mentioned in the very beginning, the top end is stellar. It's amazing, very detailed, very nice. This lower mid-range, it is lacking, but you cannot do anything unless you're gonna put a mid-range driver in there. So in the next Lambo that he has space for the mid-range, so this is gonna be filled. And the sub bass is kind of disappointing, just because it's a combination of the mid bass being in very thin, light and flimsy doors with a very cheap, shallow, small subwoofer. So like this area is meh, but the top end is super nice. So if in the future I'm gonna tune the other Lambo that he has, there's gonna be another video about that, and hopefully we're gonna see what is the difference, because these Lambos are exactly the same, it's just this is two-way and that one is gonna be three-way. So hopefully we're gonna see what is the difference when you change a two-way into a three-way. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.